All right, let's continue with East of Eden by John Steinbeck. We're still in Chapter 3, long Chapter 3. More about Adam and Charles Trask. East of Eden, Chapter 3, Section 3. The affection between the two boys had grown with the years. It may be that part of Charles's feeling was contempt, but it was a protective contempt. It happened that one evening the boys were playing Pee-wee, a new game to them, in the dooryard. A small pointed stick was laid on the ground, then struck near one end with a bat. The small stick flew into the air, and then was batted as far as possible. Adam was not good at the game, but by some accident of eye and timing, he beat his brother at Pee-wee. Let me back up. Adam was not good at games, but by some accident of eye and timing, he beat his brother at Pee-wee. 4 times he drove the Pee-wee farther than Charles did. It was a new experience to him, and a wild flush came over him, so that he did not watch and feel out his brother's mood as he usually did. The 5th time he drove the Pee-wee, it flew humming like a bee far out into the field. He turned happily to face Charles, and suddenly he froze deep in his chest. The hatred in Charles's face frightened him. "I guess it was just an accident," he said lamely. "I bet I couldn't do it again." Charles set his Pee-wee, struck it, and as it rose in the air, swung at it and missed. Charles moved slowly toward Adam, his eyes cold and non-committal. Adam moved away in terror. He did not dare to turn and run, for his brother could outrun him. He backed slowly away, his eyes frightened and his throat dry. Charles moved close and struck him in the face with his bat. Adam covered his bleeding nose with his hands, and Charles swung his bat and hit him in the ribs, knocked the wind out of him, swung at his head, and knocked him out. And as Adam lay unconscious on the ground, Charles kicked him heavily in the stomach and walked away. After a while, Adam became conscious. He breathed shallowly because his chest hurt. He tried to sit up and fell back at the wrench of the torn muscles over his stomach. He saw Alice looking out, and there was something in her face that he had never seen before. He did not know what it was, but it was not soft or weak, and it might be hatred. She saw that he was looking at her, dropped the curtains into place, and disappeared. When Adam finally got up from the ground and moved, bent over into the kitchen, he found a basin of hot water standing ready for him, and a clean towel beside it. He could hear his stepmother coughing in her room. Charles had one great quality. He was never sorry, ever. He never mentioned the beating, apparently never thought of it again. But Adam made very sure that he didn't win again, at anything. He had always felt the danger in his brother, but now he understood that he must never win unless he was prepared to kill Charles. Charles was not sorry. He had simply fulfilled himself. Charles did not tell his father about the beating, and Adam did not, and surely Alice did not, and yet he seemed to know. In the months that followed, he turned a gentleness on Adam. His speech became softer toward him. He did not punish him any more. Almost nightly he lectured him, but not violently. And Adam was more afraid of the greatness that he had been, and Adam was more afraid of the gentleness than he had been at the violence. For it seemed to him that he was being trained as a sacrifice, almost as though he was being subjected to kindness before death. The way victims intended to the gods were cuddled and flattered, so that they might go happily to the stone and not enrage the gods with unhappiness. Cyrus explained softly to Adam the nature of a soldier, and though his knowledge came from research rather than experience, he knew and he was accurate. He told his son of the sad dignity that can belong to a soldier, how he is necessary in the light of all the failures of man, the penalty of our failures. Perhaps Cyrus discovered these things in himself as he told them. It was very different from the flag-waving, shouting bellicosity of his younger days. The humilities are piled on a soldier, so Cyrus said, in order that he may, when the time comes, be not too resentful of the final humility, a meaningless and dirty death. And Cyrus talked to Adam alone, and did not permit Charles to listen. Cyrus took Adam to walk with him one late afternoon, and the black conclusions of all of his study and his thinking came out and flowed with a kind of thick terror over his son. He said, "I'll have you know that a soldier is the most holy of all humans, because he is the most tested of all. I'll try to tell you. Look now. In all of history, man has been taught that killing a man is an evil thing, not to be countenanced. Any man who kills must be destroyed, because this is a great sin, maybe the worst sin we know. And then we take a soldier and put murder in his hands, and we say to him, use it well, use it wisely. We put no checks on him. Go out and kill as many of a certain kind, a classification of your brothers, as you can, and we will reward you for it, because it is a violation of your early training." Adam wet his lips and tried to ask again and failed and tried again. "Why do they have to do it?" he said. "Why is it?" Cyrus was deeply moved, and he spoke as he had never spoken before. "I don't know," he said. "I've studied and maybe learned how things are, but I'm not even close to why they are. And you must not expect to find that people understand what they do. So many things are done instinctively, the way a bee makes honey or a fox dips his paws in a stream to fool dogs. A fox can't say why he does it, and what bee remembers winter and expects it to come again? When I knew you had to go, I thought to leave the future open so you could dig out your own findings, and then it seemed better if I could protect you with the little I know. You'll go in soon now. You've come to the age." "I don't want to," said Adam quickly. "You'll go in soon," his father went on, not hearing. "And I want to tell you so you won't be surprised. They'll first strip off your clothes, but they'll go deeper than that. They'll shock off any little dignity you have. You'll lose what you think of as your decent right to live and to be let alone to live. They'll make you live and eat and sleep and shit close to other men. And when they dress you up again, you'll not be able to tell yourself from the others. You can't even wear a scrap or pin a note on your breast to say, 'This is me, separate from the rest.'" "I don't want to do it," said Adam. "After a while," said Cyrus, "you'll think no thought the others do not think. You'll know no word the others can't say, and you'll do things because the others do them. You'll feel the danger in any difference whatever, a danger to the whole crowd of like-thinking, like-acting men." "What if I don't?" Adam demanded. "Yes," said Cyrus. "Sometimes that happens. Once in a while there is a man who won't do what is demanded of him. And do you know what happens? The whole machine devotes itself coldly to the destruction of his indifference. They'll beat your spirit and your nerves, your body and your mind with iron rods until the dangerous difference goes out of you. And if you can't finally give in, they'll vomit you up and leave you stinking outside, neither part of themselves nor yet free. It's better to fall in with them. They only do it to protect themselves. A thing so triumphantly illogical, so beautifully senseless as an army can't allow a question to weaken it. Within itself, if you do not hold it up to others, things for comparison and derision, you'll find slowly, surely, a reason and a logic and a kind of dreadful beauty. A man who can accept it is not a worse man always. Sometimes it is a much better man. Pray good heed to me, for I have thought long about it. Some men there are who go down the dismal rack of soldiering, surrender themselves, and become faceless. But these had not much face to start with. Maybe you're like that. But there are others who go down, submerge in the common slough, and then rise more themselves than they were because they have lost a littleness of vanity and have gained all the gold of the company and the regiment. If you can go down so low, you will be able to rise higher than you can conceive, and you will know a holy joy, a companionship almost, like that of a heavenly company of angels. Then you will know the quality of men, even if they are inarticulate. But until you have gone way down, you can never know this. As they walked back toward the house, Cyrus turned left and entered the woodlot among the trees, and it was dusk. Suddenly Adam said, "You see that stump there, sir? I used to hide between the roots on the far side. After you punished me, I used to hide there. And sometimes I went there just because I felt bad." "Well, let's go and see the place," his father said. Adam led him to it, and Cyrus looked down at the nest-like hole between the roots. "I knew about it long ago," he said. "Once, when you were gone a long time, I thought you must have such a place, and I found it because I felt the kind of a place you would need. See how the earth is tamped and the little grass is torn? And while you sat in there, you stripped little pieces of bark to shreds. I knew it was the place when I came upon it." Adam was staring at his father in wonder. "No, you never came here looking for me," he said. "No," Cyrus replied, "I wouldn't do that. You could drive a human too far. I wouldn't do that. Always you must leave a man one escape before death. Remember that. I knew, I guess, how hard I was pressing you. I didn't want to push you over the edge." They moved restlessly off through the trees. Cyrus said, "So many things I want to tell you. I'll forget most of them. I want to tell you that a soldier gives up so much to get something back. From the day of a child's birth, he is taught by every circumstance, by every law and rule and right, to protect his own life. He starts with that great instinct, and everything confirms it. And then he is a soldier, and he must learn to violate all of this. He must learn coldly to put himself in the way of losing his own life without going mad. And if you can do that, and mind you, some can't, then you will have the greatest gift of all. Look, son," Cyrus said earnestly, "nearly all men are afraid, and they don't even know what causes their fear. Shadows, perplexities, dangers without names or numbers, fear of a faceless death. But if you can bring yourself to face not shadows, but real death, described and recognizable by bullet or saber, arrow or lance, then you will need never be afraid again, at least not in the same way you were before. Then you will be a man, set apart from other men, safe where other men may cry in terror. This is the great reward. Maybe this is the only reward. Maybe this is the final purity, all ringed with filth." It's nearly dark. I want to talk to you again tomorrow night when both of us have thought about what I've told you. But Adam said, "Why don't you talk to my brother? Charles will be going. He'll be good at it, much better than I am." "Charles won't be going," Cyrus said. "There's no point in it." "But he would be a better soldier." "Only outside on his skin," said Cyrus, "not inside. Charles is not afraid, so he could never learn anything about courage. He does not know anything outside of himself, so he could never gain the things I've tried to explain to you. To put him in an army would be to let loose things which in Charles must be chained down, not let loose. I would not dare to let him go." Adam complained, "You never punished him. You let him live his life. You praised him. You did not haze him. And now you let him stay out of the army." He stopped, frightened at what he had said, afraid of the rage, of the contempt, of the violence his words might let loose. His father did not reply. He walked down out of the woodlot, and his head hung down so that his chin rested on his chest, and the rise and fall of his hip when his wooden leg struck the ground was monotonous. The wooden leg made a side semicircle to get ahead when its turn came. It was completely dark by now, and the golden light of the lamps shone out of the open kitchen door. Alice came to the doorway and peered out, looking for them, and then she heard the uneven footsteps approaching and went back to the kitchen. I will end that part of chapter 3.